Chase. I'm the assistant state engineer over the adjudication section in the Division of Water Rights, which is synonymous with the Office of the State Engineer. So I may use those interchangeably. It means the same thing. Okay. We are recording this public meeting, so it will be available later if you guys were so thrilled that you want to watch it again, or if more likely you just maybe missed something, want to revisit something. These slides, the slideshow I'm about to go through is on our website already. We'll go through toward the end of the slideshow and I'll show you how to get to that. But with me today, I have Levi, Dee, and Alex, some of our employees. And let's see if my clicker will work. Well, okay, I guess I'll set that down. So we're here tonight to talk about the proposed determination for the Provo Canyon Subdivision in the larger Utah Lake Jordan River General Adjudication. I promise we'll do Q&A at the end. I know this is a complicated process. We're here to try to talk you through what we've done so far and what's going to happen in the future, okay? But last month, we published the proposed determination for Area 55, Book 9, which we have called the Provo Canyon Subdivision. So what that means is we published it, we submitted that proposed determination to the court. We'll talk through more what that means in a little bit. And let's see, maybe it wasn't the clicker. There we go. Okay, so we're going to talk a very, very brief history of adjudication, and we're going to talk through the adjudication process and the steps that we've taken, as I already said. We'll walk you through how to access the proposed determination and the hydrographic survey maps. And then we'll I have a bunch of printouts, a bunch of screenshots of the proposed determination itself, so I can show you what's actually in it, how to interpret it, how to find water rights that you may be looking for, things like that. I have one slide to show you what the hydrographic survey map looks like. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll open it up for questions, any questions that you have. And then my staff and I will stick around until either we answer all your questions after the meeting is concluded, or they kick us out, whichever one comes first. At any time, now or in the future, you can send an email to that email address on the screen right there. That is forwarded directly to me. And so if you have any questions, contact us there. We'll have contact information at the end as well. But like I said, that goes directly to me. If you have questions, please reach out. Then I will also do a little bit of a website tour at the end. So I've thrown out a lot of words already, but what is a general adjudication? So tonight we're talking about the Provo Canyon Subdivision, which is a part of the Utah Lake Jordan River General Adjudication. A general adjudication is just an action in a district court. Okay, it's a court case. The state engineer has specific authorities that are outlined in statute on how we assist the court in conducting a general adjudication. Okay. So this action in the district court, it joins all of the water users, including state and federal agencies and the state engineer, all into the same court case to determine the nature and extent of all the existing water rights within that specific drainage. Okay. The entire process is governed by Chapter 4 of Title 73 of Utah State Code. Okay. So this is all, the whole process is governed by statute. Why do we adjudicate? So I'll give you a very, very brief history that explains a little bit of why we adjudicate. So that first, on the right side there, that number one, bring all claims onto the permanent record. So Utah and Salt Lake Valleys were first settled by the pioneers in 1847, but Utah didn't become a state until 1896. So there was approximately 50 years of development of water resources up to that point. And then further beyond that, the first comprehensive water laws weren't put into place until 1903. Okay, so in 1896, we became a state, and the only reference to water rights in the Utah Constitution was Article 17, and I'm paraphrasing, but it essentially just says all existing water rights for a beneficial use in the state are hereby recognized and confirmed. That's about all it said when it came to water rights. So you had 50 years of development, and then that's all the Constitution said. It didn't say anything about bringing those water rights on the record. It didn't say anything about quantifying those water rights. But what we did as a state is we said, okay, in 1903 and forward, or in 1903, some of these water laws were put into place, and as part of that, it said, okay, from any new water rights moving forward need to be applied for through the state engineer's office. And then in 1935, that was expanded. So in 1903, it was only for surface sources. 1935, it was the authority of the state engineer was expanded to include groundwater sources. Okay, so before that, people just started using water, and it was grandfathered in based on Article 17 of the Utah Constitution. So I say all that just to say the adjudication process is the mechanism we use to bring those what we call pre-statutory claims onto the record. Okay. So, like I said, prior to 1903, for a surface source, a water right you weren't required to apply for a water right. So we're trying to find those pre-statutory uses and bring those on the record. Same thing with underground sources prior to 1935. Okay, through the adjudication process, we also define and quantify federal reserve water rights, which that's like Forest Service or military installations, Indian reservations, things like that. Okay. Another reason we adjudicate is to prevent a multiplicity of suits and bring clarity to the water rights picture. So like it says on the left side of the screen, we join all water users, including the federal government, in these adjudications. So we're trying to bring everybody to the table. Let's figure this out so that there's just one lawsuit, one court case that defines all these water rights. And then the scary one is we do look for non-use of water rights and remove or reduce water rights that may be subject to forfeiture. Okay. And then the end goal, we try to obtain a final comprehensive decree on all the water rights within a drainage. Okay. So that's a little bit of history. That's a little bit of a why. So now let's talk about what the adjudication process actually looks like. This graphic, we tried to break it. This is, again, the statute or the process that is described and defined in statute. We tried to break it down into this little graphic and into 3 different phases. This is kind of our status update right now. Okay. So the petition happened way back in 1944. There was a lawsuit between water users that was kind of enlarged in scale into the adjudication that we're working on now. In 2019, we sent out notice to all water users and all landowners. We sent out summons. We held a public meeting in October of 2019 saying, hey, here's the process. Let's talk through it. This is what to expect. Then we sent out a notice to file claims. We looked at all of those claims, compared them to the water rights that we have on our records, to create a list of unclaimed rights, saying nobody filed a claim on these, so we're going to send it to the court. These are abandoned. Nobody claimed them. Okay. There was 90 days from the publishing of that list for people to file any objections. So after that, we had another public meeting. Then we did a final summons to do one more search of anybody who may need to be involved. We worked through objections, got a decree on the list of unclaimed rights. And then since 2019, we've been investigating these claims. And then, as I said, we published the proposed determination last month. And that started a clock of 90 days to file any objections on the proposed determination. And today, this public meeting, that's what we're here to talk about. Okay. So how do you access the proposed determination? So first, We sent out notice, this is probably why you're all here, sent out notice to all water right owners listed on our records. Anyone who filed a claim received a notice. Any registered agents, any counsel of record. We sent notice to everybody that we could think of that may be involved in this, because we want to cast a wide net. We want everybody to be involved and aware of what we're doing, right? So yeah, we sent out that notice. That notice does have instructions on how to access the proposed determination. But just to remind you, we created these links where you can access the proposed determination and a hydrographic survey map. They're right there on our website. You can find them. The proposed determination can also be accessed via the district court. You can come to our office and we can, either look through it with you, the proposed determination or the hydrographic survey map, or we can print them off for you for a nominal fee. It's just like basically to pay for printing it off for you. So now let's talk about what is the proposed determination. What does it look like? What's in it? So I essentially copied and pasted this from the table of contents of the proposed determination. And we'll walk through each of these little sections so you can see what they look like. The title page has some pretty important information on it. Talks about what district court the case is handling the case, a description of the general adjudication, and the civil number. That civil number will be on a couple different slides in this presentation. That is a really important number if any of you are planning to file an objection. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, as I've talked about, the Provo Canyon Subdivision, part of the Provo River Division, which is part of the Utah Lake Jordan River General Adjudication. And it's we've given it area number 55, book 9. So the next section is the notice to water users. The really important stuff here is the civil case number and the judge. This case is handled by Judge Scott. The most important thing for this whole public meeting is this paragraph right here. If anyone is dissatisfied with what we've put in the proposed determination, or if you disagree with our recommendations, disagree with our evaluations, you need to file an objection through the district court. Okay, that objection, this is instructions, and that's in the PD, so you can always look this up, or you can call us and say, hey, I don't remember where to find the instructions. We can help you out, okay? But what this is saying is within 90 days of being served the notice of the proposed determination, if you're dissatisfied with the proposed determination or any of the recommendations or evaluations leading to our recommendations, you have 90 days to file a written objection with the district court, okay? So you need to file it with the district court. Those claims you filed mostly with our office, right? The objections need to go to the district court, and you need to reference that civil number, okay? So moving on from that, the next section is the preamble. I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but it's kind of all the introductory information. There's a lot of information in the proposed determination that kind of describes the area, the policies in the area, and it's helpful to read through to help understand the proposed determination. One section in this preamble that's pretty important is the prior decrees section. There are a lot of water rights in this subdivision that stem from the Provo River Decree. Okay, so we have a section in here kind of giving a little summary of the Provo River Decree. It's important to know that we don't go through the entire distribution instructions for the Provo River Decree, but you can access the Provo River Decree on our website. And the reason I wanted to point this out is there's a link at the end of this this section that will help you access the Provo River Decree. The Provo River Decree is from 1921. So if you're interested in looking at it, that's how you access it. Then in the proposed determination, we have a location map. We also have a priority schedule. And so the way we break this up, we have the water source listed on the left. We have a priority date, and then either a flow rate in cubic feet per second or an annual diversion volume in acre feet, the water right number that is authorized to divert water from that source, and then the owner of record. I want to take a second to talk about owner of record. So as strange as it may seem to some people, our office, the state engineer's office, is not the official office of record for ownership of water rights. That's the county recorders. Okay. I bring that up because one of the main questions or concerns that we have is, hey, I have this water right and you published it in the PD under somebody else's name. That's pretty common. And what our intent is first of all, we publish the name of whoever the current owner on our record is. When somebody purchases a water right, if I go buy a water right, I record the necessary documents with the county recorder, and then I go and it's my responsibility to update title with the state engineer's office. Okay. So if you have a water right and your name isn't shown here, it's not a need to panic. We are recognizing the beneficial uses and making our recommendation to the court based on the beneficial uses of that water right. And then you can update title at a later date. And if you have questions on how to update title, contact us. We have a whole title section that can help you out with that. Other thing I want to say there, you do not need, if you have a title issue, that does not need to be resolved within the 90 days. Okay, that's a question we get pretty frequently, like, hey, I have until this objection filing deadline to figure that out, right? No, you can update title whenever. You're not held to that 90-day window for objections, okay? So moving on from that, this is the description of water rights section. We just pulled out an example just to talk through what each of these components is and what you're looking at. So you have a water right number. You have that owner of record, like I said. Type of right, application, number, quantity of water. And then on that right side, the priority date and the source. Then you have all of the points of diversion listed there. Then water use group that just helps to organize the beneficial uses, which are also listed there. You have the period of use. So, what periods of the year are you authorized for that beneficial use? The sole supply, which is how much of that beneficial use are you authorized? And then place of use information. Okay. There are some exchanges and some share statements in this proposed determination. I'm not going to dig into those. They have the same basic format as the description of water rights. If you have a share statement or an exchange in this book that you have questions about, come talk to me after. But I'm not going to go into those. It's the same basic format. Then these general comments, general comments are not on every single water right. It's just if there's extra information that doesn't fit within the format that we have, we'll list it in general comments. Renumbered rights, typically what these are, if we have two claims that were filed on the same water right and for some reason it wasn't put in the same file jacket number or something like that, it's usually duplicative claims, right? Like competing claims for the same beneficial uses. A lot of times we'll say, hey, we created a file jacket number or a water right number for this one, but it was meant to claim the water represented under this existing file jacket number, so we're going to renumber it. Okay. When I say file jacket number and water right number, those are also kind of synonymous. I just mean that's the number that we've created to refer to the file that contains the information for that water right. I hope that makes sense. So here we have the old water right number or the water right that is being renumbered, and we're saying it's being renumbered into this other water right number. Okay, so then forfeited rights, these are rights that we went out and evaluated and we found that they had not been put to beneficial use for a period of 7 years or more in accordance with statute. So we've recommended they be forfeited. So kind of the same thing, water right number, the owner of record, the point of diversion, and the source. And then the alphabetic index, if you want to just look up a name, you can look up the name there. It'll tell you the point of diversion and the source, the water right number, and what page you can find that water right number on in the proposed determination. So that's all the different sections of the proposed determination. The next thing to talk about is the hydrographic survey map. This is just one page of 32 different pages that make up the hydrographic survey map, because this is geographically a pretty large subdivision. But I wanted to point out, you know, the typical north arrow scale, all that stuff. It has a legend there. It also has irrigated acreages, and these are represented by water use groups. And so you match up the color of the polygon, look at the legend, and it'll tell you what water rights are being used on that property. And then the map location. And keep in mind, I don't expect any of you to just sit through this presentation and get it all. This is just to kind of give you an intro to this stuff. Please contact us with questions or stick around after. We'll work through whatever questions you have. So at that point, I'll open it up to questions in the room, and then I'll do a website tour for those of you that want to stick around and see that. What I ask is that for these questions, keep them kind of general. If you have specific questions about your water right, stick around after and we'll talk to you about your specific situation. But if you have general comments or questions about the adjudication process itself, I'd be happy to answer those right now.
Yes. What do you do with the ones that you forfeit? What with those pipes? Where does that water get put?
Yeah, good question. So I'm going to repeat it because we're recording it. But the question is, what happens to the water rights that are recommended for forfeiture? So we get this question a lot. A lot of people say, well, are you just auctioning it to some developer? No, that's not happening. Statute is very clear. It says that water, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but it says any water that is forfeited through an adjudication, number one, becomes available to existing water rights within that system. And number two, may be open to new appropriations. So basically what that's saying is, and this is what's happening on the ground already, right? So if I had a water right and a point of diversion on the Provo River, and let's say you had one just downstream of me, and I stopped using mine for 20 years, you've been, you know, that water runs downstream and the next appropriator uses that water. Okay, so the intent of forfeiture, the intent of you know, you have to use your water at least once every 7 years, or maybe subject to forfeitures, to prevent speculation or monopoly, or to prevent, in that scenario, me saying, oh, I haven't used this water in 20 years. You've become reliant on the water that I haven't been using, but I'm going to either start using it again, or I'm going to sell it to somebody else and impair you. It's not seen this way, which I totally understand, but the intent is to protect water users who are using their water. Okay, so any other questions? Yes, sir.
If I understood what you just said, like I have about 50 acres, and the last couple of years it's a little drier, so most of that comes through. But we have irrigation on about 45 acres of that. So pasture, early time in the season we raise fruit. I can water the hay or the pasture. Early season, April, May, late season, October, and turn it on the fruit. But if we have a really dry year, you have a lot of water on the pasture, but you're saying if you get it once every 7 years. I mean, there's sprinkler pipes, sprinkler set up to use it. We do that as we can. I mean, that water becomes available.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to summarize for the stream, but so kind of a question of, hey, sometimes the water's not available. What happens if I have a right to use water, but the system is dry or we're in drought or something like that? There are protections in statute that describe situations like this. There are protections from forfeiture through non-use, and one of those is during dry years, or if the water's not available, then that water right is protected from forfeiture, which makes sense, right? Like if I have kind of what you were saying, if I have a water right on a spring to irrigate and the spring kind of dries up, I would be using that water, but it's not available. And so that shouldn't be subject to forfeiture, because when it does produce, I'm going to use it, right?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, other questions? Yes, sir.
So if you're using a certain amount of water, they're not going to realize that there's not going to be quite that much opportunity, I guess, to say, hey, that's water that I'm saying.
Okay, so the question is, if you have, I'll say it this way, if you have more authorized water on your water right than you actually need for your current purposes, can you repurpose that? So yes, you can. There's two different things you can do. Either number one, we have what's called a non-use application. So you file an application with the state engineer's office that says, hey, I'm not going to be using this water for whatever reason. And there are reasons for non-use described in statute. You can file that application and say, state engineer, I am not using this water, but it's not just because I don't need it or anything. I'm intentionally not using it for this reason. So that's one option, file a non-use application. The other is file a change application. If you say, hey, I have this water right, but I'm not using it for these uses, I want to repurpose it and use it over here for these uses, you file a change application with our office. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What if you have rights and you have not known that you had them, and that you've been using them? You pay for those rights. You have to pay to use your water right. They're like, we have irrigation and we have to pay every year. It's our little share of irrigation. But pay for is there a yearly charge for the water right? Still, I understand someone told me it was 140,000 gallons of water per acre foot of water.
Yeah. So the question is, do you have to pay to use your water rights?
Yeah.
It's a great question, and no. If you own a water right, you do not have to pay to use that water right. The situation I think you are talking about is if you own shares in an irrigation company or something like that. Typically in those cases, the irrigation company actually owns the water rights, and then they sell shares. And the way that most of these came to be over time is you had a bunch of farmers using the same source, and they're all paying for their individual upgrades, and they're like, hey, let's just pool our money together and let's help pay for this community system. And that's how most of those formed, but that's outside of what you asked. So yeah, in those cases, if people are paying assessments, annual assessments or things like that, it's usually because they own shares in an irrigation company. So the irrigation company owns the actual water rights and issues shares, and they use that assessment money for maintenance and things like that.
Get a copy of your water right if you have a water right. Do you have a paper copy of it that you can keep on the records, or?
So the question is, can you?
You have a water right.
So how do you document that you have a water right? So if you have a water right, all of our records are public record and they're all scanned to our website. So any document that we have on our files, you can go on our website and you can find and print off and keep for your own records. If you own shares in an irrigation company, we administer the underlying water rights, but the company is responsible for taking care of the book. So if you want to share in the irrigation company and you want documentation of that, like a stock certificate or something, you'll go to the company to get that. But, and I'll show you our scanned documents, once we're kind of done with a little bit of Q&A. I'll jump into the website and show you guys how to access our records, show you where the scanned documents are and all that. But yeah, it's all public record, and I'll show you how to get that stuff. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah. If you need to change your water right, or if you want to sell a water right, sometimes you do it through the Division of Water, right? Or you do it through the county.
Okay. Yeah. Good question. So the question is, or more, I guess, a request to clarify how ownership works through the county recorder and how a change application might work through the state engineer's office. So ownership, the official office of record for ownership is the county recorder's office, similar to like if you buy land or if you buy a house, right? And so when you purchase a water right, you work through the county to get those deeds recorded, and they are the official office of record for ownership. Then when you're talking about selling a water right and filing a change application to move it somewhere else, typically what happens is if I have a water right, I'll just say I'm in that situation and I want to sell half of my water right to somebody, we will execute a deed. They will go to the county recorder and get that recorded. But then the actual change application process and like kind of splitting that water right in half and processing that change application will be through our office. Okay. Okay. Other questions? Yes.
When you have the water rights, the water rights of land or whatever, you're not quite fully utilizing the water at that point. You have a future use that hasn't come to fruition. What about?
Okay. So the question is, what if you have a water right that we'll just say the paper water right, the water right on paper exceeds the actual on the ground use that you have? What do you do there? So that goes back to what I was saying. You can file a non-use application with our office saying, hey, we're not going to use all or a portion of our water rights. And that goes into a protected non-use status, and it's protected from forfeiture during the times that it is under an approved non-use application. Does that answer your question? There's a lot of other scenarios we can talk about, but
Okay, I'm not doing that for a couple of years, but I need the water then. So I don't want you to put the water. I need it.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so if I'm not using it now, but I need it, and that's one of the most common, I would say one of the most common reasons that we see for like a non-use application is, hey, I bought this land and it came with this water. I want to build a house and drill a well on this land, but I can't do it financially right now. So I want to file a non-use application on my water right so it's protected and I can develop it later. Yeah. Yes.
What you just described, the non-use application, that is valid for how long?
A non-use application is typically for 7 years. I think they're typically approved for 7 years. So no, a non-use application can be filed whenever. Yeah, well, let's talk about that. But to answer your question, a non-use application, usually there's an expiration date of 7 years from the date of approval. Okay. Yes.
What if you had a water right, didn't know about, and so it forfeited?
So if a water right is recommended for forfeiture because you didn't know you had it, can you get that water right back? What I'll say is you would need to file an objection and demonstrate to the court that that water right is not subject to forfeiture, either from because it was put to beneficial use or because it meets one of the statutory protections from forfeiture through non-use. So, and for a specific situation, I'd be happy to talk offline. Yes.
So, you said the ownership goes to the county recorder, if you guys are keeping all the records, of the actual water rights. What they update the county recorders, is that transferred over to be on your website
So the question is, the question is, like, since title is handled through, or we'll say the official office of record is the county recorder's office, but we administer the water rights. If a deed is recorded with the county recorder, does it automatically go to the state engineer? Unfortunately, no. It doesn't. It's, we wish it did. But no, typically people record their deeds with the county recorder and then come and provide those deeds to us to demonstrate a chain of title. And then we update title based off of that on our records. Okay. Yes.
What did you say your name was? If we had a question tomorrow or the next day?
Yeah. My name is Chase McDonald,
Okay, you're right.
up there on the screen, and I'll do a website tour and then I'll put this back up, so that you guys have contact information. And then I thought I saw another hand.
40 acre feet of water. Is that per year or is it? How does, I mean, is it for a lifetime to get?
So the question was, you said, is the 140 acre feet per year? So what I'll say to that, my response to that will be, when we quantify a water right in a volume, like an acre foot volume, that is per year.
Per year?
That's on an annual basis, and that's calculated based on the beneficial use.
And you split those water rights among multiple people?
Yes.
Like if you
So
have-
water rights function as real property. So just like you could subdivide a piece of land and sell it off to multiple people, you can do the same thing with a water right. Okay. All right. Yes.
This question with you now or do it afterward, but you earlier talked about if someone using water upstream and then they quit using it, people downstream are still using it. If you had a common shared spring and you didn't know that it was, didn't have a file name on it with somebody else, but then that was being used or there was a discrepancy in it, but you've been using it for 50 years, is there a way to put your name on that spring to say, hey, I've been using it for 50 years. I thought I had it right to it. Maybe it's because of the group. That's something
That's,
that's done. Talk about it.
That's something let's talk about afterward, because I'm not sure. I know. I think there's a lot of variables that go into that, and that's something that would probably end up going to the courts. I don't know. So let's talk offline. So at that point, we'll wrap up the Q&A. I'll do a website tour, and then, like I said, I'll stick around. My staff will stick around and answer any individual questions or specific questions you guys have. Okay. So jump in here, and this is going to be fun with that glare. So this is our the homepage of our website, waterrights.utah.gov. Okay. And I'm not logged in, so everything that we're looking at right now is public view. So if you guys got on, this is what you'd see. Okay. So a couple things I wanted to show you. First of all, what most people use if they don't have a water right number to try to find their water right, they use the map search and zoom into their property and stuff. Okay. So I'm going to show you that. So from our homepage here, we scroll down and there's this map search right here. If we click this, it brings up state of Utah. We have all these different map layers down the right-hand side. And because we're here for the Provo Canyon PD public meeting, I'm going to turn on adjudication books and then scroll in here. It's hard to scroll without a mouse, so bear with me. Okay. So this 55.9 is the area that we're talking about right now. Our points of diversion are turned on, so I'm going to zoom in. I'm just going to pick a water right at random. So you can zoom in and these little icons represent different water rights. So we're just gonna pick one at random. So if you click on this, it gives you kind of the basic information about the water right. It gives you the status, the priority date, source, shorthand for the different uses. The I is irrigation, all that kind of stuff, right? Just a really basic view of the water right. And then if you click on the water right number right here, it takes you to our water rights database. Okay, and you see a couple flags there saying that, hey, this is involved in an active adjudication. The claim filing deadline has passed. And then it also says it was published in a proposed determination. And you have 90 days from that notice to file an objection. Okay. But if we scroll down, it's all that same information that was in the proposed determination and then a little bit extra information, right? So you scroll down here, you can look at the uses, you can look at the comments, there's all this kind of stuff in here. From this page, this is just what we call the water right database page. You'll see this scan documents. So if I click that scan documents, you can sort by date. You can look at the state engineer's recommendation that was mailed out for this water right. You can look at memo to file that was put on the file and mailed out. And this describes the evaluation that we did and why it gives the why behind our recommendation. Okay. So if you have questions about what we put in our recommendation, those memos are super helpful to try to communicate that to you. So that's how you would use the map to find a water right. Now let's just copy that. So let's say you know your water right number. If you go back to our home page, you can scroll down and there's a search menu here. Scroll down from there, search by water right number. And then you can put your water right number in there and search. Takes you right back to that water right database printout page, okay? And then if you want to see it on a map, you can click View Map. And it'll even zoom into it for you and show you the place of use. So that's the point of diversion, that's the place of use. All right, so that's the basics of finding a water right and accessing that information. And as I said earlier, these scanned documents, records, everything that comes through our office is public record. So you see these are the state engineer's recommendation, the memo to file from August 2025. But we have, I'm assuming this is Provo River Decree, which that's dated back to 1921. There was a change application 1924. So everything that we have that's ever come through our office ends up on these scanned documents. Okay, so to your point, you can print all these out and have them on your own records.
Is that just one record?
This is one water right, yeah. And if you do want to print all this stuff off, we do have an option here, PDF of all documents. So you don't have to click into each one of them. You just click that, it spits all of them out and you can print it off from there if you'd like. Okay. So going back to the home page, we are talking about an adjudication. So I want to show you how to find the status of the status information for the adjudication. So you can scroll down here and click adjudication. This video is just a quick explanation of the adjudication process. There's some more information there. So you can come down here and go to adjudication status. Then you see all these different subdivisions we have across the state. Keep going to the Utah Lake Jordan River general adjudication right there. Then we're looking for 55-9 Provo Canyon Subdivision. So if we click into this, it has all the information about this adjudication. And if you go to, oops, you see these little documents next to these dates, like final public meeting date. We click that. This is the slideshow that I just walked you all through, okay? So it has that information there. Like I said, we sent you those notices that have a link to the proposed determination, or you can go to this status page and click that right there, view publication. There's the proposed determination right there. If you go back, sorry, it's hard to see from this angle. Go back one more. The last thing I'll show you is these hydrographic survey maps. So you can list them, click the map, we'll just click the list. This shows all the hydrographic survey maps for the state. And then if you click this one, it's a massive file, so it takes a while to load and takes a while to navigate, but the hydrographic survey map is right there available on our website, okay? And any of this stuff that we've talked about, if you want clarification or if you need a refresher on how to find it, like I said, this meeting is being recorded, it's uploaded, or just give us a call. Okay. For the sake of everybody's time, I'm not going to wait for the whole thing to load, but I just wanted to show you how to get to it. So, on that note, I'm going to come back here. Just pop this back up. And now, are there any more general questions before we end the recording and answer specific individual questions? Doesn't look like it. So, okay, at this time, Levi, go ahead and end the recording, and then we'll be available for questions.